Many clubs in the Uganda Premier League have poor funding, and on top of that, some of them even have poor management. I think one of the issues with Express right now is the issue of management, and on top of that, is the issue of lack of enough investment, especially from the people who are probably running the club or even the fans themselves. Most of the clubs that we know in Africa and around East Africa are actually funded either by the communities or they are funded by entities or companies that help to sustain some of them. But for the case of Express, it's been something that has been ongoing. We remember that a few years ago, Express was actually almost relegated from the Uganda Premier League. And if it wasn't for the intervention of many of their fans, they would be playing either in the big league or even in the regional league. Because realize that when most of these clubs go back into the FUFA big league, it is usually a bit hard for them to come back immediately because even the resources actually either dwindle or even don't come at all for them. So Express's issue of players going about 6 months without pay is something that is not only happening at Express, but it's happening to actually very many clubs in the Uganda Premier League and many of them even in the big league. But I think they just need about two solutions. One of them is that Express and its management should have a sit down talk with the owner of the stadium that they use as their home ground, that is Ham, sit down with Ham, have a conversation on how to reduce on either the expenses per match day, because what we've heard from very many sources is that Express spends a lot of money on every match day, especially for the renting of the facility and the stadium. So this is something that has to be done by sitting down with the owner of the facility, and they agree on a new deal that is better for both of them. Either the match day sales for the tickets can be shared in half, or we talk about a way of reducing on the entrance fee so that we have more fans in the stadium, which will help Express to collect more revenue from the gates. The second solution, of course, involves the intervention of the government. When you look at the Rwanda Premier League and the Tanzanian Premier League, these are leagues that have been heavily invested in by the government itself. We remember that even the government of Tanzania has invested in some artists in Tanzania, especially to better their careers and also for them to become global icons. So this is something that has to be done by the people who are probably helping to run the club and the people who are also helping to run the league. They should sit down with the government and explain actually to the government how some of these things have been done in our neighboring countries. And it will be of good, especially if the government listens to their pleas and understands that football and sports is something that is very important in the day-to-day life of very many people. The government should be informed that in a few years, if they invest in sports and invest in football, the money that will be generated from many of these ticket sales or even the merchandise that is already sold will be taxed, and the government will benefit from that. So these are things that have to be discussed, and when you bring in the government, at least it will be something that will be much much better, and they will sit down on a table and they will agree on some of these things. I think those are the two solutions that can be taken to improve on funding for many of these Uganda Premier League clubs, because what is happening at Express is not only happening there. And next season, we will find another big club in the Uganda Premier League struggling with the same thing, and the next season, the same thing, and the next season, the same thing. So, this is something that needs a solution that is going to be permanent and is going to help in the long run. Thank you. See you.